sites. There we go. All right. So we have a pretty simple agenda today. We'll start with some opening remarks, and then we'll move to panel questions that we've prepared. And then we will have a 15-minute session of open Q&A for the attendees. All right. Well, first, my name is Sean Chaffin. I am a Supplier Diversity Program Liaison at the California Public Utilities Commission. Joining here today is my colleague Stephanie Green and Bezi, and our panel of representatives from Community Choice Aggregators serving areas in California. The California Public Utilities Commission, which I may refer to as CPUC going forward, is a government agency which serves the public interest by protecting consumers and ensuring the provision of safe, reliable utility service and infrastructure at reasonable rates, with a commitment to environmental enhancement and a healthy California economy. Through General Order 156, the CPUC requires community choice aggregators, or CCAs, to develop plans to increase procurement from small, local, and diverse businesses, and to submit reports detailing their diverse procurement activities. General Order 156, aka the CPUC Supplier Diversity Program, also requires utilities, sorry, CCAs, electric service providers, and other covered entities to have a plan to increase inclusion of diverse suppliers. This is minority, women, disabled veterans, LGBT, and persons with disabilities, businesses, enterprises, and their procurement activities. General Order 156 sets a minimum voluntary goal of 15% for minority, 5% for women, 1.5% for disabled veteran businesses, and for LGBT enterprises, it's 0.5% for 2022, 1% for 2023, and 1.5% for 2024 and beyond. Businesses are encouraged to seek and obtain certification with our Supplier Clearinghouse. Supplier Clearinghouse verifies and certifies businesses' diverse status and maintains a public database which utilities, CCAs, and other covered entities use in order to identify diverse businesses for contract opportunities. Certification is free, and it lasts for 3 years until renewal is necessary. The certification process may take 30 to 45 days, depending on the need for a site visit or more documentation. Today, we have prepared a panel of community choice aggregators, who I may refer to simply as CCAs, to discuss their procurement processes, their programs, opportunities, and how to do business with them. After introductions, we will proceed to our main panel discussion. From there, we will open the workshop up to you for an open Q&A session. Without further ado, I will allow them to introduce themselves. And once we get to the Q&A session, I'll remind you again to use the chat function. That's how we'll be filtering the questions for the panel. So, all right, without further ado, I'll let the CCAs introduce themselves, and we'll start with CPA.
Thank you, Sean. I think I'm forever destined to start things because CPA is always going to be at the beginning of the alphabetical list. But happy to get started off. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. My name is Scott Gropp. I'm the Strategic Sourcing Manager at Clean Power Alliance of Southern California, also known as CPA, as Sean said. So a little bit about CPA. We are a joint powers authority founded in 2017. We were first operational in 2018, so our operations have been growing and ramping up since that time. We now serve more than 3 million people, representing 1 million households across Southern California, mostly in Los Angeles and also in Ventura counties. We have 32 member jurisdictions, and it's a really geographically and demographically diverse population. From towns like Ojai, with a population of about 7,000 in Ventura County, down to unincorporated Los Angeles, which has a population of over 1 million people. So we are governed by, pardon me, a board of directors, which consists of a member from each of the 32 jurisdictions. These are public officials, and we work within a framework created and reviewed and approved by the board. So that's a little bit about us. I work specifically on all of our non-energy contracting processes and sourcing initiatives. So as we get along into the meeting, I think we'll talk a little bit more about what that means and some of the distinctions between our energy purchasing and contracting, and then all of the other non-energy purchasing and contracting that we do. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'll go ahead. My name is Caroline Love. I'm with MCE. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Strategic Initiatives Coordinator at MCE. So a lot of my work includes overseeing our supplier diversity efforts and running our DEI coalition, and also applying for different grants from the federal, state, and private sector. MCE was the first community choice aggregator launched in California, and today we serve 37 member communities across 4 counties in the Bay Area, including Marin, Napa, Solano, and Contra Costa. Our mission is to confront the climate crisis by eliminating fossil fuel greenhouse gas emissions, producing renewable energy, and creating equitable community benefits. We have a similar governing structure to CPA, and we're really excited to be here and to discuss some of our programs and ways you can get involved with us. Thanks.
Sebastian?
I think I go next. Sorry, I was forgetting the order of the alphabet for a minute. Hi, everybody. My name is Sebastian Saria. I'm a policy manager at San Diego Community Power, or SDCP. SDCP is a fairly new CCA in California. We started serving customers last March in 2021, and we concluded enrolling residential customers for our 5 founding cities in June of this year. Our 5 founding cities are the city of San Diego, Encinitas, Chula Vista, La Mesa, and Imperial Beach. Next year, we'll be expanding service to the city of National City and to unincorporated San Diego County. Currently, we serve roughly around 750, 770 customer accounts. And when we expand service next year, we'll be serving around 960,000 customer accounts. And I meant to say earlier 770,000 customer accounts. Just to go into a little bit of detail on what CCAs are, we are made possible through legislation, AB 117 from 2001, 2002. It allows municipalities to pull together or aggregate their load, their generation load, and form entities like CCAs that could be standalone or just one city specific or one municipality, or they can be a consortium of municipalities or a joint powers authority or a JPA. We partner with the local IOU or investor-owned utility. We generate the electricity, and then the local IOU delivers the electricity, and everyone gets one bill from the same utility. So if you're here in San Diego County, you'd receive one from SDG&E. Enough about that, but I handle several things here at SCCP. Since we're still growing, we're fairly new. I handle legislative affairs, some regulatory issues, and then this is part of my portfolio as well. But I'm sure as we keep growing, we may have someone else handle this in the near-term future. Excited to get into the questions later on, but at this time, I'll pass it over to Sierra.
Hi, my name is Sierra Huffman, and I'm with the Valley Clean Energy, so I'm a community engagement and programs analyst there. And so yeah, Valley Clean Energy is a CCA. We operate in the Central Valley, so one of the only CCAs to do so, right next to Sacramento, Yolo County. So we serve Winters, Woodland, an unincorporated Yolo. We have an annual load of about 750 gigawatt hours, and 15% of our load is ag, which is quite a significant portion for a CCA. about 17% of our customers are NEMs or have solar on their property. And then we have about a 10% participation rate in our territory. Oh, sorry, 90% participation rate in our territory, the opposite. So what we are proud of is our sort of renewable energy profile. And we are looking at being 80% or more renewable by 2024. And that is all through power purchase agreements. So not through any renewable energy credits that we're purchasing. It's all through power that we're procuring through our PPAs. And, you know, when we talk about Valley Clean Energy, we love to talk about our programs and how we're serving our customers. So just to give you an idea of the programs we have right now, we have AgFit, so that's our agricultural flexible irrigation tariff. So we are providing dynamic prices to farmers. So they're hourly, they're based on the wholesale energy market, and they are receiving incentives to automate their irrigation, as well as a software so they can schedule on these dynamic prices and really maximize their bill benefits and reduce the stress on the grid. Another one is we're providing electric vehicle rebates to our customers. We're beefing up our home energy efficiency pages, so trying to get the information out there by holding workshops as well. Anything from heat pump technologies to managing your ducting and increasing your home insulation, as well as we have a grant outright, or we are implementing grant funding in Winters, Woodland, Unincorporated Yolo, and Davis for electric vehicle infrastructure. And we partner with OhmConnect. So we're trying to get our customers a fun and interactive way to reduce their usage during certain hours. So you can earn points and enter those points to get more smart plugs to reduce your energy bills, or even win a trip to Disneyland or some fun and exciting things like that. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of our programs, and we have more coming down the line in 2023. So it's a little bit about Valley Clean Energy.
Thank you for those great introductions. We'll now move on to our panel questions in the same fashion. So we'll start with Scott. What is your typical procurement process from solicitation to contract selection?
Thank you, Sean. Let's see. So that question really depends on the type of contract and the dollar value. So like I touched on earlier, we are governed by our board of directors. We have policies that direct our contracting, and we actually have a specific non-energy public contracting policy that governs the work that I do. So these are all public documents. They are on our website. If you're interested, you can, of course, access that on our website. But it does provide us the framework for all of our contracting. Now, I'll make the distinction that, again, that the initiatives I work on are non-energy. So it is a little bit different when you divide it up between non-energy and energy purchasing. I can't speak to the particulars necessarily of what the energy contracting looks like, although it follows a somewhat similar process. Those contracts just tend to be a little bit more dependent upon financial terms and conditions that I don't work on the non-energy side. But to give you an overview of how we typically handle contracting, there is a dollar threshold after which we have a competitive solicitation process required. So the competitive solicitations typically break down into two categories. Those are task orders and RFPs. So the difference between task orders and RFPs really centers around sort of the complexity of the services that we are soliciting for. Task orders are part of our larger RFQ process. So we have an outstanding request for qualifications where vendors can download the RFQ from our website, respond to it, and then they become what we call a pre-qualified provider. Once you're a pre-qualified provider, you can then participate in future task order solicitations. But it's important to note that you have to be a pre-qualified provider in order to participate in that task order solicitation process. So one of the things I always encourage people to do when they are first reaching out to CPA and asking about our contracting processes is to respond to the RFQ. It's not a terribly laborious or difficult process. We really are just asking people to send us some of their qualifications, references for projects that they've worked on, and then we'll review that and execute a master agreement with them so that when we have future task orders, we can move fairly quickly to execute a task order since all of that vetting is done up front. So that's the more streamlined of the two processes, and it's typically for less complex projects. When we're talking about more complex projects, we often run a standalone RFP, which is a request for proposals. So it's similar to a task order, and they have a lot of the same mechanics. It just typically takes a little bit longer because the things that we're looking for might be novel or unique, and it takes a little bit more time to actually review proposals and make final decisions regarding choosing a proposer. So just to give you, an overview of what an RFP looks like, or even a task order, even though it's more streamlined, it typically involves these following steps. First being, there's an internal process of review with our business units and then drafting a solicitation package. Once we have that finalized, we then publish it on our website and in other forums, and then distribute it out to the market. Once it's out on the market, typically there's a Q&A period where bidders can submit questions in case they need some clarification on what we're looking for in the RFP. Once we have those questions, we'll respond, and then bidders can submit their proposals to us. We will review those submitted proposals internally. Typically, there's some type of shortlist meeting depending on how many proposals we receive. We'll then interview the proposers. After we interview all the proposers, again, we'll have an internal selection meeting. Once we've selected a proposer, then we launch into contract negotiations. And then once we have a finalized contract, we'll present it to the board for review and approval. So that's kind of the high level overview of the two main types of competitive solicitations that we engage in, and the sort of typical process of how an RFP, the mechanics of the RFP work. I would say a typical timeline for an RFP is usually somewhere between 10 to 12 weeks, although it can be longer when we're talking about more complicated or technical RFPs. So that is my overview of our sort of typical process. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. MCE has a solicitations page, which we're very up to date on, and there's a few EV related opportunities there now, which I believe actually recently expired, but you can get notified on future solicitations and our open season enrollment by just clicking on that link I just put in the chat. And specifically for our procurement and solicitation, we issue an open season request for information every year to meet our long and short-term contracting needs. MCE's 2023 open season procurement will accept offers in the spring, providing a competitive opportunity for qualified energy suppliers to fulfill MCE's resource requirements. And interested parties can check out another link that I'm going to put in the chat to make this more interactive. And in terms of our selection, we prioritize suppliers who offer project elements that benefit adjacent communities and support local workforce development and supply chains. And we encourage the utilization of diverse contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers. And we really do value the diverse entities and small businesses in our area while also staying in compliance with Proposition 209 as a public agency. An example of our recent prioritization selection, earlier this year, we entered into a contract for our Golden Field Solar for a 100 megawatt of solar co-located with a 75 megawatt battery, enough to power 150,000 homes per year, including a community benefit of $100,000 for local reinvestment to support family-sustaining green-collar jobs. So we look at things holistically while also meeting our needs and broader sustainability and community-adjacent goals.
Thank you very much. SCCP has a similar process as CPA and MCE mentioned. We have a dedicated webpage where we list our solicitations as they become available. We encourage interested vendors to sign up to receive notifications on when those solicitations are available to the public. We are also very active on our social media channels to notify interested parties. And we also take an effort to reach out to different local chambers in the region so that way they can spread that information to their contacts. We have a, again, very similar RFP process. We analyze what's the need for the agency. Once we determine the necessary dollar threshold, then that will necessitate whether it goes to the board for full approval or if it's within the authority of our chief executive officer for authorization. We have a series of processes that we follow, particularly on our website under About Us. We have a section called Key Documents, and there we have our procurement policy. And we also have an inclusive and sustainable workforce policy, which I'll touch on further in the next question. But in there, we encourage interested vendors to review those documents and become aware of our particular processes that we follow. If a contract is above 125K or above, that contract goes to our board of directors for approval. At that time, the vendor may have an opportunity to speak to our board and showcase their business. And we I think that's a pretty cool way to get some exposure. So I'll pause at that. We could talk about this for hours, but I'll pass it over to Sierra.
Well, the process at Valley Clean Energy it's very similar to both CPA and San Diego. I'll just add that we also have a dedicated section on our webpage just for RFOs and RFPs, so it's definitely a place to check out. And then we create a sort of a panel that they'll evaluate the proposed vendors, and then that panel will make a recommendation to staff, and staff will talk internally, and then we'll be making staff will make a recommendation to the board, and then the board will move to approve a project or a vendor at their board meeting. So.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to unmute myself there. All right, moving on to the next question. What programs do you have to support small and local businesses, as well as diverse businesses? What is your CCA doing to increase procurement from small and diverse businesses?
Thanks, Sean. I'll get us started here. So I will say CPA has really been working on extending our outreach activities. We're a fairly young organization, and I think a lot of contractors maybe are not aware of us or are not aware of opportunities with CPA. So one of the things that I've been working on over the last year is trying to identify channels for distributing our solicitation materials to a wider audience. Similar to what some of the other panelists have said, we do have a contracting opportunities webpage at the CPA website. And that's great if you know that it exists and you're checking it regularly. But probably for a lot of vendors, they may not know that it exists or may not be checking it regularly. So I've been working to publish all of our solicitations through the Supplier Clearinghouse website as well, because that will get distributed to anyone who is currently registered or certified in the Supplier Clearinghouse database, or it's posted on their website. So people can actively search in that forum as well. So I think that's definitely something we're working towards in terms of just getting the message out there that this is who we are. These are the types of contracts and opportunities that we have. So I think really increasing visibility is key for us. We, of course, have teams dedicated to community outreach. We've been ramping up in-person outreach activities since COVID has been winding down. We've been working on developing new digital and print materials so that our teams can hand those out when they're at events. And we're encouraging people to, again, become pre-qualified providers by responding to our RFQ. So I know that our teams, they attend many events each month. I think at least 2 to 3 of those events monthly do touch on supplier diversity issues and do give us that opportunity to kind of distribute some of this information about our contracting opportunities. So that's been really helpful, I think, post-COVID, in being able to do some of those more in-person outreach activities. Let's see. We've also been working to create a 2022 DEI strategic plan. Supplier diversity is, of course, a point or part of that plan. So it's been an exciting year for us. We've been able to engage with some experts in this field to help give us some, direction on outreach activities that we can engage in and how we can be successful in really working with all of our local small businesses. Something else that our teams work on are scholarship and workforce development initiatives. Currently, I believe our grants are at around $1 million a year, and they're really working to increase the pipeline of opportunities and access to some of these green energy jobs. And hopefully, over time, that builds up a pipeline of business ownership for some of these small and diverse businesses as well. So that community engagement is really important for us. We also do engage directly with small and diverse businesses. Sometimes they have questions about our contracts, what's required, and sometimes we can also work with them to overcome some hurdles that might exist in the contracting process. For instance, small businesses sometimes don't have the typical insurance limits that we require in our contracts. So that's something that we always keep in mind when we're talking through negotiation or potential contracting opportunities. We can sometimes waive or lower those insurance requirements. And then I would say, the other thing that we've really been working on is, direct outreach with our existing suppliers and really encouraging them to become certified so that not only are they seeing our solicitations on the Supplier Clearinghouse, but also they'll be exposed to a lot of other opportunities by becoming a certified member and seeing these notices coming through the Supplier Clearinghouse. So there, I'll pass it over to Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Since MCE has been around serving customers since 2010, we've really enjoyed watching the sector grow in diversity and starting from a place that unfortunately hasn't been with a huge representation from women, LGBT folks, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and other minorities, including veterans and disabled folks. So one way that we're hoping that we can recruit and get people certified is through our annual Certify and Amplify webinar, which we've had the pleasure of hosting 4 times now. And Bezoit Delgasa, I believe, just hopped off, but she's been featured, I believe, for every single one of our webinars that we've hosted so far. We most recently had our 4th webinar in June, and I should specify that before COVID it was also in person, but we really enjoy having it online now to have folks from all across the state be able to participate. So in addition to the CPUC's Bezoit Delgasa, we also have Wayne Gross from the California Department of General Services to discuss certifying as a small business and disabled veteran business enterprises in the state. And we have also featured Teresa Rubio Dorsey from the nonprofit Veteran Launch to speak of her experience working with the nonprofits, and she always does a great job motivating everyone to get certified and submit the paperwork, because it is worth it from their experience in the end. Just going along the lines of increasing diversity in the industry, our procurement from diverse vendors increased 209% between 2020 and 2021. And our small and local spend was around $5 million in 2021, similar to what Scott was discussing, how it is important for us to ensure that we're working closely with the clearinghouse and the CPUC to support our already diverse suppliers to certify. Our diverse and local spending includes a woman-owned local power vendor, Energy 2001, who we're working with right now to get certified. And I believe they just submitted their application. So as we have said, only a few more months till we can have that. In addition to our Certify and Amplify webinar, we also have our supplier diversity annual report that we release, and we're working on that now. And we're always excited that the numbers, even if just by a little bit, is increasing every year. And I can talk more about our workforce development opportunities, I think, in a later question, and that definitely relates to our supplier diversity work as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so as I mentioned, SCCP started serving customers last year, and we concluded enrolling residential customers for our 5 founding cities in June of this year. So one thing for us that's really big is increasing our brand and increasing our name. And in order to do that, we have to get out there, and in an era of the current pandemic, has been a little bit difficult. But since then, we've made sure to, as I mentioned before, talk to our local chambers of commerce and also minority chambers of commerce. We have sponsored events. So, for example, we have sponsored now twice in 2 consecutive years Quality California's San Diego dinner, as well as getting out there and again showing people that San Diego Community Power is here in the region and that is here to do business with you. So it's been a lot of, hey, this is who we are. This is we're gonna keep growing. There's gonna be more business opportunities. We are growing staff. Our public affairs team has been growing rapidly. We recently hired a public outreach associate who will be doing many more events throughout the region, again, just to promote our brand and by default, promote the business opportunities that we have. What are we doing to increase procurement from these small and diverse businesses, local businesses? As I mentioned, just part of a brand new CCA is just creating the structures. So one thing that we recently did is that we, with Prop 209 in mind, we wanted to look at other ways to benefit vendors. And so we amended our procurement policy recently to provide bonus points to small, local, disabled veterans and persons with disabilities businesses. So they have the opportunity to choose 2 out of 4 categories for 5 points each, so 10 points total. And in that way, we're doing that to ensure that we do what we can in ensuring that those businesses get uplifted and have an opportunity on the table. I mentioned the inclusive and sustainable workforce policy, but I think I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we are small and nimble, but are doing what we can to make sure that people get to know who we are.
So let's see. As a really small CCA, we have a 6-person staff. Our partnerships are very important to us and who we work with. So we do have the benefit of working with the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, so also known as SMUD. Many of you may know, and they have a fantastic program that benefits folks who do work on our behalf, subcontractors and contractors, called the SEED program. So that's the Supplier Education and Economic Development, which I'll go into a more depth on all that provides in a following question. We also, in our power procurement contracts, have included in the past and hope to continue to include in the future that the seller must conduct outreach with qualified local contractors. So this is helping ensure that they're engaging with the local workforce and they have the ability to compete for construction contracts, and we saw that as beneficial. And then, of course, we're doing our best to promote the clearinghouse to any interested parties who are applying currently to our RFOs or the RFPs, like many of the other CCAs, with language on our forms and contracts, as well as engaging with our current suppliers and if they'd like to become certified, providing any more information that we can in those avenues as well.
Thank you for those responses. On to the next question. How can local, small, and diverse businesses get more information about working with your CCA, and with whom should they talk to? Scott. Did we lose Scott? Caroline, you want to take this one?
Sure.
I'm not sure
yeah,
what's going on with Scott.
Yeah, we'll hopefully come back to Scott. I already put that opportunity links page in the chat. mcecleanenergy.org/solicitations / again. You can also get in contact with me directly. I think our information will be in the follow-up packet, or my supervisor, Alexandra McGee. So yeah, as long as you're staying in tune with any of those notifications for when we have new openings, you can also just get in contact with us and we can direct you to the correct department depending on what exactly your business does.
Just want to make sure before I go, if Scott, if you're there. Okay. Yeah, very similar process to MCE. We have a dedicated web page where you can read more information about our supplier diversity efforts. And in terms of who to talk to, you talk to me. And I can assure you I am a pleasant person, and we'll have fun just getting to know each other. Beyond that, like I mentioned, we're in all social media platforms. If you're in the San Diego region, feel free to pop on over on one of our events that we're out in the community. If you want to come to our board of directors meetings, they're held every fourth Thursday of the month. And we also have community advisory committee meetings that you are more than happy to attend to. And all of that information is on our website. Again, we're here for the community. We're here to serve you. So feel free to reach out and be happy to talk to you. And I see Scott is back.
Thank you, Sebastian. Apologies, everyone. Looks like I'm having some connectivity issues. But I think the question is, how can local, small, diverse businesses get more information about working with our CCA, and who should they talk to? So the answer is me. We have a couple of options, but as I mentioned earlier, we do have a contracting opportunities webpage. On the webpage, we have some information about various programs. We have links to our contracting handouts. We have our RFQ. There's also a contracting alias, contracting@cleanpoweralliance.org. That's an inbox that I monitor. You can also reach out directly to me at my email address, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about how our contracting processes work, what the requirements are for our RFQ process in general. So thank you.
All right, so of course, like all the other CCAs, best source of information for our current opportunities is going to be our website. So it's a dedicated webpage. Definitely encourage anyone who's interested in the opportunities to fill out a interest form via FormStack. So it's going to be on our same RFO, RFP web, section on our website. And then you'll be receiving the notifications directly whenever opportunities arise. And then there isn't, the best email to reach out to is going to be our info@. So it'll be info@valleycleanenergy.org, and that'll sort of be the general inbox, and your question will be posed to the best staff member to be able to answer it. And then if you would like to sort of see all the opportunities of the CCAs that are available, I recommend visiting CalCCA's website. So California Community Choice Association, and that is the membership of all CCAs in California. They have a section on their website specifically for the RFO opportunities, and then it'll link to each individual CCA, but you'll have them all listed out in front of you, and you can kind of go through them and check them all. So it'll be a nice central repository of all the information. So.
All right, good to have you back, Scott. I was getting worried there. All right, so next question. Does your CCA have partnerships with resource centers to provide training and development of small and diverse businesses to become more competitive toward winning contracts? And how can interested entities participate in these developmental trainings or programs? And looks like we lost Scott again. So Caroline, you might be
Hopefully he
up there.
can maybe join via phone or something,
Yeah,
if
going
not,
to
but
send him an email here or some.
yeah, clearly, the grid is working to increase reliability, and that includes Wi-Fi with everyone working from home. Our CCA is really excited about all of the workforce development and training programs that we offer, and we see it as a key pathway to increasing opportunities in the green economy and green collar jobs. One of our deepest partnerships is with a local nonprofit called Rising Sun Center for Opportunity, which is based in Oakland, California, and we're part of their High Road Training Partnership work group, and we discuss best practices for creating the best union and non-union jobs with equitable benefits for different careers and getting them to be in the renewable and decarbonization sector. MCE's Sustainable Workforce Guidelines outline our commitments to support diversity through the procurement of power, goods, services, and hiring initiatives. And that includes preferences for projects that serve disadvantaged and low-income communities and use disabled, veteran-owned businesses and diverse contractors and subcontractors. And our priority is always to hire locally or source local materials in these projects to make sure that the benefits of these projects economically have the most impact in the communities that we serve. And let me reread this questions. Yeah, we have in the post packet, we can include the information for the best email for Lois Smith, who is in charge of our workforce education and training programs, to get involved with those. And we're always looking for more opportunities to increase our programs and develop them as they're based in the current programs that we offer. And I'll pass it to Sebastian.
Thank you very much. So since SCCP first began serving customers early last year, we're still learning. We're still collecting best practices. And so if anyone in the audience has an idea for us or wants to connect with us on making something better, do let us know. That's what it's all about. It takes a village to move a mountain, and we have a pretty big one to move. So with that, we have been talking to different organizations, some LGBTQ organizations here in San Diego, to start those discussions, see what a potential training could look like. But as of right now, we're still developing that, but we are hungry to establish something and make it worthwhile. So again, if you have any ideas in the audience, do let us know. I've included our contracting email in the chat, and we're excited to hear from you.
I mentioned the SEED program. So of course, we partner with SMUD, and just to give you an idea of the services they provide for us, it's billing, data management, administration. They run our call center, as well as currently our scheduling coordinator for power procurement, though that is changing. And so I definitely encourage all those who are interested to look into the SEED program. So there's two qualifications. One, you have to have your central office located in SMUD territory, so in Sacramento County. Ratepayer for a number of months. I don't believe it's for a long period of time. I think it's about 6 months. And then you also have to be certified through the California Department of General Services, either small, a micro business, or public works. And so if you meet those two qualifications, you can receive benefits such as a 5% bid advantage, a procurement, evaluation point advantage, as well as receiving like sheltered market solicitations that are only released to seed vendors, as well as they hold multiple workshops and networking events each year as well. So, and they've seen, a lot of benefits come from this program. So they're saying they're seeing their subcontractors grow and become contractors, and it's been a great program to watch and be a part of. What we are also currently doing right now is including provisions in our contracts for workforce development. So we have 3 that have already been signed. So we have funding that's going to be coming for a chunk of 20 years and a chunk of 10 years. So these are long-term goals and programs that we are in the process of developing. So right now, what our workforce program looks like is, solar electrification and battery storage. But because these are so long-term, and I see that if there's a need and a desire, and we see that our community and our public really want to see this workforce development change into something that supports supplier diversity and building small and local businesses, we have the ability to shape and change that as well with the more information that we have. And yeah, those are a few of the opportunities that we have right now.
Thank you. It looks like having a little. Oh, there he is. So here we have Scott back. I was just emailing him. How's it going, Scott?
It's going well, except connectivity issues, obviously. But
All right. Well, do you want to take a stab at
again,
that's question number 5? If you'd like me to read it out again.
no, I have it.
All right, good.
Yeah, I think as I touched on a little earlier, we do have a team that focuses on our community engagement. So currently we partner with about 180 community-based organizations in Los Angeles and Ventura counties. So in terms of them having specific programs to providing training and development to become more competitive towards winning contracts, I can't speak directly to all of the programs that they offer. So I'm not aware of any organizations that provide that specific training in terms of, how to work through an RFP, how to respond to an RFP or a contracting opportunity. So I don't have a specific example of an organization that does that. I do know that we partner with a number of local and diverse chambers, trade and professional associations that provide their own training and development opportunities. So I think that's a question that it's a little hard to answer other than to say, I'm not aware of organizations that specifically target that type of training activity that would be geared towards specifically RFP, responding to an RFP or contracting opportunity.
All right, thank you. Question number 6. What opportunities do you have for small and diverse businesses, and how can these businesses access these opportunities?
I will, I think, try to start us off, since we'll start back with me at the beginning of the order. So I think we've touched on this a little bit in some of the earlier questions. In terms of accessing the opportunities, we do post all of our solicitations on our contracting opportunities webpage. We're trying to increase that audience by publishing them on the Supplier Clearinghouse webpage as well, and then extending that message with print and digital materials through our CBO outreach. So that's typically how people are going to access the opportunities. That's where you'll find the information. In terms of what opportunities we have, we're a business like any other, so we have all of the operational needs that any business has. So aside from our energy power purchase agreements, all of our non-energy purchases are the types of things that every business has to keep us running. We have finance department, marketing, customer programs, human resources, different trainings, right? So those are all things that we solicit and contract for. So I would encourage all suppliers to reach out. I'm happy, to set up a quick call. You can introduce yourself, tell me about the services that you offer, and then I can give you some insight into whether or not that's something that CPA would be looking for. But I think, the sort of general answers to that question is we're a business like any other. So we need many types of different services. So it's to our advantage to have that larger pool of suppliers. So I really encourage businesses to reach out so that we have your information when we're looking for those types of services in the future.
Yeah, absolutely going to second some of what Scott said regarding us being interested in hearing from you and us always being open to more opportunities and hopefully finding a fit there. And it's always better for us to have more different options for who we select as contractors. We just in terms of our general opportunities and how we're always looking to expand them, we get feedback on program development and share our solicitations and board meetings with our Community Power Coalition. And we've been doing this since 2014. This is a group that represents 38 different community organizations, and we're sharing that we're representative and also reach out to special outreach to communities and different organizations serving historically disadvantaged communities. And again, you can check out our website that I've shared before for the most up-to-date opportunities, which are of course definitely available and encouraged to small and local and diverse businesses are absolutely encouraged to apply. And regarding, there was a question in the chat which relates to our question on different mentoring programs, and MCE does have a Green Workforce Pathway program that I wanted to mention, which matches contractors who provide services within MCE service area, which again is, we have over 1.5 million customers throughout our 4 counties, Napa, Marin, Solano, and Contra Costa. And we match these contractors with pre-qualified job seekers. MCE pre-qualifies workers by partnering with local workforce development programs and then matches them to contractors who need staff. And we pay job seekers for on-the-job experience to help them gain experience for future employment. So check out those opportunities as well on our website and information about our workforce education and training programs. And we're always looking to increase the access to this information and to our programs, especially for diverse suppliers. Our Certify and Amplify webinar I mentioned earlier for the first time ever was in Spanish this year, as well as English, and we're looking forward to increasing our access and to reach diverse communities throughout California and specifically our service area. Thanks.
Thank you, Caroline. For SCCP, as I mentioned, we just continue to grow, and we will be this, or excuse me, we are already the 2nd largest CCA in terms of load in the state, and so it's just a matter of time until staff and our protocols start catching up to the size that we are at. So in terms of needs, there's going to be plenty. I can tell you right now we have a printing, postage, and mailing RFP that's available on our website to provide those kinds of services to SCCP. We do anticipate that in the new year we will have a need for IT support. Not sure exactly what that will look like, but stay tuned because that is coming down the pipe. And yeah, just if I had a crystal ball to let everyone know what kind of services we'll have, I would say a little bit of everything, especially as we continue to grow. Our staff has grown tremendously. I've been lucky enough to be one of the founding employees of SCCP, number 2, and right now I think we just reached 31 employees. So, and we're expected to add much more to that. So the needs are there. It's going to continue to grow. One thing that I want to mention is that we have undergone a community outreach effort through the development of our Community Power Plan, or CPP. The Community Power Plan is intended to guide our 5-year strategic program outlook effort. And we decided to do that because we wanted to go out to the community and have them tell us what they want us to do, rather than us telling them. And so we actually took inspiration from CPA and East Bay Community Energy as well. And in doing that, we are expected to conclude that effort in March. And from that point onward, we'll see what type of workforce development programs we can implement if that's what the community wants, and things like that. So we want to make sure we get it right. And we're undergoing this effort where we're in many events throughout the week, throughout the month, in order to get it right. So just wanted to share a little bit about that.
Valley Clean Energy, we currently have no open opportunities, but there are a few coming down the line. So I would say stay tuned for, we'll be looking for a collections partner, and then looking to procure electricity from either a battery energy storage system or wind energy. So those are a few opportunities that are coming. And then I'll, second the folks who said to reach out to us, I think you'll be most successful if you learn a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how to best meet our needs, and be able to sort of tailor your message that way. So I encourage, checking out our website, attending board meetings or CAC meetings, or just learning a little bit about our community and our territory. There is a wealth of opportunities and things that we could do better and manage better, especially time. The shorter something takes, the more that we can do, especially when we're working with such a small team. So I just was trying to brainstorm on a few opportunities, and I saw a few of these pop up in chat. So even better. So any data organization or accessibility, a lot of us that are making the decisions aren't necessarily adept at manipulating data. So the easier it is to access and to manipulate, the better. Any energy service tools. So a lot of the CCAs are growing, and we want to start creating our own rates. So we want to start comparing rates and being able to tell customers whether or not you're on the best rate. These are some of the things that the bigger utilities can do, but as Valley Clean Energy, we can't necessarily do for our customers. So it'll only improve customer relations. Analyzing energy efficiency, of course, whether you're residential or commercial. Any tool for program management. For example, I'm taking in electric vehicle rebates or applications and doing them all by hand. And if that was more of an automated process where that data could get put into a database after when they come in, that would make, of course, my job much easier and be able to go into phase 2 of this program even faster. We have, of course, customer outreach, facilitators, and focus groups are things we're thinking about as well, probably other CCAs. Modeling services, so we have the load and supply are changing as we move to a different climate, to greater electrification. Those are things we'll have to be taking into greater respect. And then, of course, I think the future is grid response and automation. And so we have to start moving or changing supply, start changing the demand, so how customers use energy to meet the supply, since we have more renewable energy on the grid. And so, that's something that's a little bit unprecedented. We've always sort of met the demand with our energy supply. So the more, the people that are in the field of automation, whether that's managing, a large group of customers or specific technologies, it's going to be really important. So yeah, just want to emphasize that as a big opportunity.
Great. All right. So here's the final panel question. This is a big one. What advice do you have for small and diverse businesses that would help them succeed?
Thanks, Sean. So I guess I will kick this off by echoing, I think, some of the things that we have all said, which is, reach out to us, introduce yourself, tell us about the types of services you offer, tell us about your, unique and special capabilities. So, something I've heard suppliers ask about or say to me in the past is that they can't necessarily be competitive in terms of price with larger companies. So price isn't always the determining factor when you're evaluating a bid as part of an RFP. So Clean Power Alliance looks at something that we call the best value. So best value includes a lot of criteria that do not all boil down to the bottom dollar. Of course, pricing is important. It's going to be for any agency, but I would encourage people to not feel discouraged if they feel like they can't compete dollar for dollar price-wise with their larger competitors, because we take other things into account as well when we're determining that best value. So I think it's really, getting yourself out there, getting yourself in front of us, and then, taking that step to become a pre-qualified provider with CPA specifically, so that you are on our distribution list for future opportunities. And then I would say also by becoming certified through the Supplier Clearinghouse, so that you are exposed to that wider audience of opportunities as well. So I think those would be my top points for most vendors. Make sure that we know who you are, what you can do, and don't be discouraged when replying to bids, because we consider bids on a best value basis. Carolyn, over to you.
All right, thanks, Scott, and thanks everyone for your perspective so far. And we're excited to answer some of the specific questions you have in the chat as well if we haven't got covered them. Two pieces of advice that I'd offer boil down to not underestimating your power and the benefits that your unique perspective brings to the table and your ability to get large contracts as your business scales up. And secondly, if you're not already certified, do not overestimate the work needed to do so. The CPUC and your local CCA is on your side, and please don't hesitate to reach out, which is, I believe, a sentiment that MCE and as well as the other CCAs here share, that we really want to see you get certified. And if you do happen to be intimidated by that, we can clear up any of those miscommunications or misunderstandings, and we'll showcase that it definitely is worth it to get certified. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really want to echo what Carolyn said in terms of us being there for you. CTAs were created by the community for the community. And so if there's something that seems frustrating to you or that you think could be made better, do let us know, because it is in our foundational documents to put community first. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, specifically to answer the question for STCP, I would say I would echo Scott's mention of becoming certified with the CPUC Supplier Clearinghouse. That would be huge. The other thing is become familiar with our procurement policy. That way you are aware, informed of our different structural processes, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the bonus preferences that we provide to those 4 categories, which are, again, small, local, disabled, veteran, and persons with disabilities. And then also, just to talk a little bit, we also have our inclusive and sustainable workforce policy. It's also available on our website under key documents. And through that policy, we encourage the utilization of diverse businesses, also the use of prevailing wage and prevailing wage, union workforce, that kind of stuff. And so do take a look at it. If you have any questions or if you need a translation of it, do let us know. We can provide that for you. And the other thing I would say is, again, to reiterate, track our website for postings, sign up for notifications, reach out to me, and let me know how I can best help you.
Much of what I'd share as tips to be successful, or how you can best be successful in the industry, have already been stated. So just like the other panelists, we're in this field not only because we're excited, of course, about energy and electricity, but also because our building our community and enhancing our local area is something that we really stand for. And so I would say not only is the Supplier Clearinghouse getting certified, but if you do certify as from the California Department of General Services as a small, micro, or disabled veterans getting in there, it also, that's probably a little more easily accessible or used by local governments and agencies similar to ours and the way ours functions. And then I would say, of course, reaching out to us, like many of the other panelists have said, we all meet regularly and have regular monthly meetings. So if you are successful with one CCA, that success will only spread and we'll hear about it. And so it's building that network, and it'll really help you grow. So and then I would also add that if you have any educational bits to share, so if you getting a presentation in front of, so Cal CCA, they hold like these informational presentations, and you can get in front of a bunch of CCAs. So if you have information on a specific, you've been working in a specific sector of the industry and you have some best practices to share that you think will be informational for us, a presentation sharing your insights, letting us get to know your services and your entity is a great way to get in front of us too. So I would suggest that as a possible avenue if that happens to be a good fit. And other than that, yeah, just restate what the other panelists have said. It's great.
Thank you for that. All great words of advice. So that pretty much wraps the panel question section of this workshop. We're doing excellent on time. So from here, we may have a few extra minutes in our Q&A, and we'll just go right into it. Now, if you have questions for any of the panelists or panelists specifically, enter them in the chat. We will do our best to try to get to all of them. There are about 100 of you. So with the help of my co-host, Trisha, we will try to address and present each question. So the floor is yours, attendees. Okay, here's one. How much does experience matter? Can you be new and win business with a CCA? Caroline, do you want to take a stab at this one?
Sure, I can add something. Scott, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I can provide my general thoughts. I think the answer to that really depends on what type of services you're offering, right? So there's no set requirement for experience for any contract. I think the question would be, if we're talking about, let's say we have an electrification RFP that's currently pending. We're looking for responses from proposers who have experience working with electric vehicle and building reach codes. So if you were brand new and had never worked with electrical or building reach codes, I think it would be challenging to respond to that RFP. But if you were providing other services, let's say, printing and mailing, not that that's not something that requires experience, but I think something that's less technically involved, that might be a better opportunity. So I think it really is just something that we have to consider on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes we're trying to do something brand new as well. So maybe there's no one who has that direct experience for the service that we're looking for. So we might both be sort of forging a new path in that direction. So I wouldn't let experience alone stop you from responding to a solicitation. I think it just depends on a case-by-case basis, like what are the services we're looking for, and what kind of experience do you need to provide those services. Sorry, I know that's not super specific, but I think given that we contract for so many different types of services, it's hard to give like a final answer that would be kind of a blanket answer for everything that we contract for.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let being a new business stop you from applying. We really encourage you all to apply and leverage the experience that you do have. Maybe you're just breaking into clean energy specifically and you are still learning more about that. We encourage you to still apply, and we take many factors into consideration when evaluating whether or not to pursue a contract, which I think Sebastian touched on earlier. It's not just it's not just the base total cost. It's all these different factors that we're considering. So we encourage you to put your hat in the running, I think the expression is.
I just want to add and just want to echo the comments of the previous two panelists that CZOs are new and we are gaining people's trust and well, SSCP more, we're fairly new. So for us, brand new getting into the scene, just like a new business. And so we'll have to start from somewhere and we just gotta go for it and see how it lands. So definitely go for it.
I think the rest of the panelists have really thoroughly answered the question, but I'll just say I would handle it as I would if I was applying for a job. So of course, experience is huge, but if you have work examples or a demonstration to provide, that could definitely suffice and show and demonstrate skill. So.
All right, thank you. The next question is, do we need to have a business license in the city of your respective office locations?
For SSCP, no, that's not required.
I would echo Sebastian's comments. That's not something that we're looking for when we're reviewing proposals.
Yes. Sorry, did you? Okay. MC has a large service area, so there are many cities that we consider part of our community, and of course we value local experience and that knowledge, but no, you're not limited by our geography. We have folks from all over supporting our team and efforts.
With Valley Clean Energy, no requirements on location.
Great. Are RFP/RFOs the primary way to get your foot in the door? For instance, my company offers pole loading engineering and inspection services. How would I find buyers for services that are not in an RFP?
I can take a stab. I think beyond the RFP process, it might seem a little difficult, but I would say just sign up for notifications, reach out to us, perhaps schedule an informational session, get to know STCP, but also we can have a more brainstorming session about how to uplift your business. We can also connect you with local business organizations, chambers of commerce that may have, like for example, if we don't have a particular need at a particular moment, then perhaps we can utilize our connection to someone who may. And so I would just say, feel free to reach out. We can set up a meeting chat, see how we can best help each other, and go from there.
For MCE, RFPs are the best way to know what we're looking for at the moment, but you're always welcome to get in contact with us as well if you have other opportunities that aren't fitting into anything that we have on our website currently.
I apologize, I don't specifically know what the pole loading engineering and inspection services are, but in general, filling out an RFO interest form is a great way to get in front of our staff members with what your services are and keeps you on the mailing list. And then, of course, if you have just general questions, reaching out at the info@valleycleanenergy.org, and that'll go to out to all the staff, and then we'll be able to best answer your questions or address your services and information too.
Yeah, I think I would just echo what everyone has said. I think making that first contact with the respective organization is important. So, we have our contracting alias on the website. Please feel free to reach out to us through that. One thing I would say, I get a lot of questions on from potential suppliers surrounds contracting that would involve physical facilities. And I will say, as a load serving entity, we do not own or operate any physical facilities. So those types of services are not something that we're typically looking for. So just as a point of clarification, I do get a lot of questions related to that. So the general answer is no, we aren't looking for any services that would surround like the actual operations of, power producing physical facilities.
How much preference is given to California businesses for services? We are based in Oregon, but we are a registered WBE with Supplier Clearinghouse and have worked with California utilities.
I think that's a tough question to answer. I'll just jump in first. I would say all things equal, if we're looking at, 2 or 3 proposals, and one of them happens to be a locally owned business that's within our service territory, I think that would give you an advantage. I think that's often rarely the case, though. So all things are not equal when you're reviewing proposals. It's one criteria that you would weigh in the consideration. There's certainly nothing to stop someone who's not located within one of our service territories from applying. And we certainly work with many suppliers who are not located within our geographic area. So definitely don't let that be a reason to stop you. I think it's great if you're certified and you're not within our territory. It's awesome. It means that you're, reaching out, hoping to build that network and work with CCAs in California. So we really appreciate that. And we actually have a supplier who we recently worked with earlier this year, who's located in New York. They just completed their certification. So I absolutely think it's great for anyone, no matter where you're located at, to complete that process, because it's really going to open up opportunities for you. And I think when we're talking about different services, all things are not created equal, and you never know who's going to respond to a solicitation. So don't let that limit you.
I would say for Valley Clean Energy, I know our Community Action Committee and our Board of Directors, they love to see local businesses. But I'll definitely voice what CPA said. I don't want that to stop you. So we have power procurement, PPAs in Nevada and in Oregon. So we are, looking for the best fit and the best organization to work with. And so I would, not let location prevent you from reaching out to a CCA.
Nothing much to add. Oregon isn't too far away, but we do generally love to see local businesses. But yeah, please apply, especially if you have more of a niche product or service or type of energy you're providing. We would love to hear about it.
And likewise, I think enough has been said. I would just mention that, again, if we have an RFP for communications and outreach, I think it really makes sense for the agency to be local and understand the culture, the environments of the San Diego region. But if there's something technical, niche, like Caroline said, then then yeah, it would make more sense for someone to be from out of the region.
Do you influence solar or cogeneration projects done by your customers on their side of the meter? I know energy use patterns by customers and how to create value by changing energy use or generating energy at a customer site.
I'll throw out that we have front of the meter and back of the meter projects, and reducing energy load in the first place is an important part of our work, including just through electrification of homes and more energy efficiency programs. So I hope that answered your question partially.
For Valley Clean Energy, we aren't actively influencing who is putting solar on their rooftop or where that's located. We try to promote it with our customers, educate them if they have any questions so they can use us as a resource. But I think that does go with what I mentioned earlier as far as grid response and your ability to sort of manipulate your demand to meet your supply. And so I do think that's going to be incredibly important. And I believe other CCAs are working on things like virtual power plants where you're using these distributed energy resources, whether it's solar or battery, to your advantage and using that aggregated in the marketplace. And so there are definitely opportunities in this. Valley Clean Energy just doesn't have it as a program right now, but I definitely could see it being something of interest in the future.
I'll add that we have a net energy metering policy similar to many CCAs where we compensate the customer more than the local IOU for the overconsumption that they produce. So we incentivize that. We also have a feed-in tariff program to encourage commercial customers to build local solar plus storage projects. We also submitted a implementation advice letter for what I'll call a community solar program that will incentivize the creation of local solar projects, ideally paired with storage in our communities. And then beyond that, I think someone mentioned an OHM partnership. We have that as well to mitigate peak loads. And then, as I mentioned, our community power plan will tell us what other programs to create that will benefit customers in the future.
I think the only thing I can add to that is our customer programs team is working on a couple of initiatives that I believe will be launching next year. So keep an eye on our website. I think you'll see a couple of articles launching that touch on that subject matter.
Thank you. Our company provides landscaping, both interior and outdoor. Do you have a separate organization or org unit that we should approach for this work? We do vegetation management and similar services that would cater to electric utilities that the panelists are in.
Sean, I think I could echo kind of what I said earlier, in that CPA does not own or operate any energy facilities. So that's not a service that I foresee CPA looking for at any time in the near future.
So a little more information. So when we do contracting for procuring power, we're really just engaging with the seller. So the seller who's providing energy. So we're purchasing electricity from someone who's selling it, and then they have sort of the control of where, the land, where it's constructed, who they hire as subcontractors. And so that kind of all falls into their wheelhouse of, so that would be more engaging with, you know, the seller who we're talking to with, and those are all decisions made by them, and then we are just sort of procuring power and choosing and who we purchase the power from.
I'll mention and echo the same comments, but I'll mention that here at SCCP, we partner with a local business organization called Cleantech San Diego. Cleantech San Diego is a solar developer or renewable energy developer membership organization. And so for your business in terms of landscaping, I would encourage you to reach out to those types of organizations that have that broader network and can share those opportunities with developers who may need those types of services.
Thanks all. MCE does have operate our own solar facilities throughout our service area, so that could be something of interest. Of course, the general ecosystem is really important to sustainability as a whole, and one of the backgrounds that I don't have now is features some of our solar panels up north with cows in it. So if you're curious where those are all located, I just dropped my last link of the day in the chat, so please feel free to check that out and learn more information about those solar sites. Thanks.
All right, we've got time for maybe one or two more questions, and we're gonna have to wrap it up. So I'll just pick whatever's down here. Let's see. What is the lower limit on kilowatt hours or kilowatts you would buy from a small generator?
Sean, I'm not sure that I can answer that because that's a little bit more technical, and that is a question that would be directed to our power procurement team. What I would encourage potential suppliers to do, again, check out our contracting opportunities webpage. There is also an email alias for the power procurement team. It is procurement@cleanpoweralliance.org. So you can reach out directly to that team, and I think they would be able to answer that question because it's more on the technical side, and that isn't the business unit that I support, unfortunately.
So for Valley Clean Energy, I believe, recalling that I think our smallest one is around around 3 megawatts, so 3,000 kilowatts. But I do know some of the smaller CCAs, so Redwood Coast Energy Authority is a good one. I think they were looking for, you know, as small as 1 megawatt, half a megawatt they were doing solicitations for. So there are opportunities if you have a small, you know, solar farm, renewable energy generation, battery storage, of course. And so I think it just depends on what the needs are at the moment. But I do believe ours is around, our smaller one is around 3 megawatts.
I'll mention I mentioned earlier our feed-in tariff program. That again, I just like Scott said, I don't handle the power side of things, but just looking at the website real quick, eligibility and rules, take a look at that. To be eligible for our program, a generating system must be less than 1 megawatt in size. So there, for that particular program, which is so small, there's no minimum system size, but that's geared towards really micro units. And then we do have a local renewable energy and energy storage RFI out right now. That's also on our website under solicitations. Just taking a look at that. The minimum for that is 1 megawatt in size. And so I would say it really depends on the need that we would have and also the urgency.
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to say the exact amount. I'm not quite sure, but you can definitely reach out to me and I can put you in contact to figure out. Generally, though, MCE does see reliability and resilience is really important, and that includes smaller projects. If you see on our website there, we do have projects that are less than 1 megawatt. So it could be in our interest if you're in our area. Thanks.
All right, that'll be the last question we take. And we will conclude this workshop. I'd like to thank all the attendees who participated, and your questions were great. I'd also like to offer a special thank you to our panelists. I will leave the contact information again in the chat before we end this. This will be posted on our websites once it gets uploaded. And with that, have a good rest of your day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Take care, everyone.